Speaker, it's a real pleasure to rise and speak on Members' Day to support my colleague Damien O'Connor's bill on dairy industry restructuring, his amendment bill number 2. And I do rise with some pleasure to support this because we've just heard a speech from the National Party. Surprise, surprise, they're voting against this. But after all, this is the party that has bought us the sale of state assets, flogging off the family silver to overseas interests. We used to actually have 100% ownership of Mighty River Power. 100% of New Zealanders used to own Mighty River Power until very, very recently, when now only 2.5% of New Zealanders have an interest in owning Mighty River Power. So I think it's no surprise that when this very good bill comes before the House, where the aim is to ensure that our biggest and our most successful company stays in New Zealand hands, that of course the National Party votes against it. Because in reality, the National Government doesn't believe that the New Zealand people have a role in actually designing their own future. They actually don't believe that. They think that the market is supreme, Mr. Speaker, and that the market is the almighty that they must bow to. And that is the fundamental reason why the National Party will not support this very sensible bill. Because what is the evil that the National Party sees in this bill that supports the cooperative model that Fonterra has had through all of its different manifestations? Why is it that the National Party won't stand up for supporting the cooperative model? And we've heard some of the history about the New Zealand Dairy Board and how Fonterra came to be, and actually a story, I think, that it would be good to hear told in a lot more detail. Because while we've had some to and fro about whether Labour was in power or National was in power, I think people clearly understand that that type of cooperative New Zealand ownership model is fundamental to Labour principles and values, and they can see how closely that's aligned with what Labour stands for, so people will get that. But this is a New Zealand grown concept, and that's the exciting thing about it, and it's successful internationally. And the only other thing that I think that comes close to it, and of course it's not a commercial entity, but is that that other great New Zealand icon of play centre and the play centre movement. You know, New Zealand growing model that we own, that the rest of the world looks at in awe and goes, isn't that great? And Fonterra fits that exactly. So what this bill is wanting to do is to ensure and enshrine in legislation certainty that there cannot be a private or a foreign takeover of that cooperative model. That's quite simply what we're aiming to do here. And as much as the previous member might say, don't worry your pretty little heads about it, it will never happen, because the market will ensure that it doesn't happen. Well, I'd ask that member to tell me what happened in the situation of Fisher and Paykel, where it started off with just a 20%, only a 20% investment from a Chinese company called, I think it's called HAIER, I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce it, H-A-I-E-R. They originally only had a 20% investment in Fisher and Paykel. That, over time, ended up in an eventual complete takeover of Fisher and Paykel by that Chinese company. And that, Mr. Speaker, is what concerns the Labour Party. We're not prepared to just wait and see what happens with Fonterra, because Fonterra is so fundamentally important to this country and its economy. We're not prepared just to let the market have its way. We want legislation in place that will protect Fonterra. It will definitely keep it as a cooperative in the hands of New Zealand farmers.
Mr. Speaker.
I call Ian McKelvey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Firstly, I must congratulate